In today's fast-paced digital age, where opinions stream in with every scroll and every viewer becomes a commentator, the role of a film critic is more fascinating than ever. Are critics the guardians of cinematic integrity or simply interpreters of audience taste? Or perhaps their role now lies in guiding deeper discussion, encouraging us to see beyond entertainment and into the soul of storytelling. Today's conversation sets out to explore exactly that, the evolving identity and influence of the critic in a world where everyone has a voice, but few cultivate perspective. Can we have a look at the AV, please?
Criticism is not about telling the viewer to go watch a movie or not watch a movie. I also get the feeling that you are not someone who likes to open up too much.
That is your intelligence to make me open.
I was fascinated by the diversity of Indian regional cinema.
Megachandra Kongbam, आपको स्वर्ण कमल प्रदान किया जा रहा है.
Is the film columnist of a local vernacular Manipur daily.
Everybody has something to say about writing about film these days, especially with AI.
I'm a lover of cinema myself. I have consumed a lot of film criticism, which has made me see films in new light, which I can see has also improved cinema in the long term, right?
That today you can watch Spider-Man and Batman in Telugu and Tamil in your language, and the local industries are actually feeling threatened.
The mobile, normally I find mobiles in movies very boring, both in theater and film, I must say, because it's something that we use so much in our everyday life that you don't want to see again.
We are honored to have with us an exceptional forum of film critics, an analyst whose insights have shaped how we understand cinema. Moderating this exchange, we have a film critic, journalist, and researcher who covers international cinema with a sharp eye for narrative and form. Let's welcome Mr. Davide Abbatescianni onto the stage. Joining us is one of Europe's most respected film critic and festival curator who traveled all the way from Paris. Let's welcome Ms. Barbara Lorey De Lacharriere onto the stage. We have a renowned Indian critic, columnist, and author known for her nuanced takes on both mainstream and parallel cinema. Let's welcome Ms. Deepa Gahlot. We have a noted writer and critic whose deep engagement with regional film cultures brings a grounded understanding of diverse cinematic expressions. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Megachandra Kongbam. Next, we have a film journalist who traveled all the way from Hong Kong, whose coverage bridges global cinema with an Asian perspective. Let's welcome Ms. Elizabeth Kerr. Next, we have one of India's most celebrated critics, admired for his in-depth analytical interviews and passion for meaningful storytelling. Let's welcome Mr. Baradwaj Rangan. Now we have a powerful voice from cinema, known for his sharp reviews and deep understanding of the industry. Let's welcome the film critic, cultural commentator, and writer, Mr. Sudhir Srinivasan. Thank you, dear guest, for being here. May I now request esteemed steering committee member, Sri Ravi Kotarakara sir, to please join us on the stage to felicitate our distinguished guest.
Before doing that, there's one important thing to be said. Many people could be successful in cinema, anywhere, not in cinema, in every walk of life. People are successful. But behind every successful person, there is criticism. What not to do is not what they say. They say what you could do is what they are saying. They are trying to give you a right path and insight to success. So kindly listen to them. These critics, as we say, we should be scared of them. No, we should be with them. If you have one critic with you throughout your life, you are the most successful person in your life. So find a person who understands you, who's able to correct you and put you on the right path. Give them a big hand here. And last but not the least, this is the first time in the history of masterclass here, we are having a critics roundtable.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. And now, over to you, sir, with the gracious request to commence the session.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're well, and welcome to this masterclass, 26th of November, International Film Festival of India. My first time in India. Very excited, very happy to share the stage with my esteemed colleagues. And what are we going to talk about? Beyond the thumb, the role of a film critic, a gatekeeper, an influencer, or something else. We're going to find out, hopefully. My name is Davide Abbatescianni. I work as a film critic and journalist for Cineuropa and a few other English language outlets, mostly trades, I would say. And without further ado, because we've got so much on the plate, I would like to ask each one of the panelists to introduce themselves, but to tell us how they entered this business, because it is a very peculiar one, and there are many tortuous paths that can lead you to be a full-time film critic and journalist. I'll start with myself. I was studying theater as an actor. Then I actually graduated from the drama school as a director. Then I switched to documentary film, and I studied I left Italy and moved to Estonia to study documentary. Then I moved to Ireland to start a PhD, which I miserably failed. But that was the time when I started writing for a few magazines, including Cineuropa. And that career started somehow. It took some time to become a full-time job, 3 years. And I've been doing this full-time now for 5 years. So I'm new to the job, but not so new. And that's how it went. And here I am. Barbara, what about you? It should be on already.
Okay. Yeah, well, long story, but I will make it short. As many of my colleagues, I come from different backgrounds. We all have more or less different lives. So I started to study theater in Germany because I'm German, and then I started I wanted to do theater, but then switched for several reasons to psychology, became a clinical psychologist, which was not made for me, I think, and I moved to France, and then worked in intercultural communication, and by coincidence, I came to journalism. I was asked to contribute to some newly created magazines, and from there, this magazine was closed, so the articles that were not published were sold to a big German daily newspaper. And one day I got the call and they said, well, we like what you do. Could you work as a correspondent for us? Wow. So I started as a cultural correspondent for a major German newspaper, and slowly swifted to film criticism. And I would not define myself as a film critic in the sense as we say in France. I mean, my job is not to analyze or to tell people what they have to see in a film. I feel more like a film journalist and a kind of mediator between cinema and the audience. And I have been extensively traveling around the world, discovering films from other countries, other venues, and I felt my job was to tell people what is out there somehow. So, but then I didn't stay only a film critic. I did later, I became a sociologist, and but came back to film criticism. And a major thing for me was that I joined in the beginning of 2000 FIPRESCI, which brought me back on the international film festival scene all around the world for now almost 30 years, 25 years. Yeah, so that's it up to date, mostly what I'm doing.
Great, thank you. For those who don't know, the FIPRESCI is the International Federation of Film Critics, because maybe there are some people who need out of the field. And indeed, it's the major body which we are part of. Professional critics are part of, with different national sections, of course.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to present.
No problem. All right. Deepa, the ball is in your court.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be in Goa. I became a critic because both my parents used to be writers, and my father, a large chunk of his journalistic career was as a film and theatre critic. So I'm a Nepo baby by today's language. Yeah. But I think once you become a cinephile, you know, by choice or by design, it never lets you go. So over the years, I did other things. I mean, I worked for an NGO, and I edited magazines, and I was a curator in a cultural center. But I kept that link going with the film and theatre criticism. And it's been years, and people ask me, so many years, why are you still at it? Such lousy movies, why are you still at it? And I say, even if the movies are lousy, we love them. So here I am.
Cool. Please, Megachandra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megachandra Kongbam. I did my journalism in 1979 from the Benares Hindu University, and from that time, I wanted to be a film critic. And after joining the government service, I work in the Department of Information and Publication as director. Then after retirement, I do this writing. So I have written about, in this profession, I was about 30 years in writing in cinema. And now I'm the executive member of the FIPRESCI India chapter. So we are trying very hard about this, for this, promoting the good film culture in India. That's all.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
All right. First off, I need to just cop to the fact that I am way out of this league. Okay, I do not belong up here.
Come on.
I'm a film nerd from childhood, studied cinema in university, and after a few years working in production, like on-set location shooting, in the winter, in Toronto, standing there like this, in minus 25 degrees, while somebody said, time, cut, strike. I gave up and went, I need to start writing about this stuff instead, where it's warmer and I'm comfortable and I'm sitting all day. Long story short, I worked for some film collectives, did a lot of grant writing, vacationed in Hong Kong one year after a contract was up, never left. And that's the way Hong Kong is. Oh, do you know about cinema? Do you write about cinema? Can you write for us about cinema? And here I am in Goa. That's about it.
Hello everyone, my name is Baradwaj Rangan. Very long and tortuous road towards this profession, so I'll leave all that stuff out. But it really helped that when I decided to do this in late 2002, 2003, we had passed the print generation of critics, and then we had passed the television generation of critics, and blogs had begun springing up everywhere. And so me, Raja Sen, Jay Arjun Singh, we were among the first of the blog generation of critics. We all began around about the same time in the early 2000s. And we, just like the print critics had made an impact with their style, and the television critics had made an impact with their style, we were able to kind of cut through the clutter with a different way of going through it. And yeah, so began with print, moved on to digital, and yeah, still here after 23 years, so guess something's working. So glad to be here with all these people, and especially glad to be here with Deepa, because she's one of the senior most critics in India, and I've been reading her for a very long time, and really happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Baradwaj. Sudhir, please.
Hi, my name is Sudhir Srinivasan. I graduated in physics, worked for a bank.
Did some corporate too before.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
And the resultant pain meant that art offered me a lot of solace and comfort, I think. Consumed it a lot, watched a lot of films, read a lot of books, found that they were offering me the kind of companionship and wisdom that life probably was not. And why does anyone write about anything, right? When you feel a lot within and you feel like you want to express some of it, see whether the structure can be made out of it. And that's how I started writing, I think, about films, because all the weight of the feeling just seemed a bit too much to just keep it within. And turns out that once you start expressing some of them in the world, it begins to create its own life outside. A resonance happens there, and what I thought was very obvious stuff was apparently not so obvious. So here I am. Over the years, wrote a lot, spoke a lot, and yeah, continuing that journey. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. All right, let's start introducing one of the many elephants in the room, so it's gonna get crowded. And the first one I wanted to ask is, we all started this job at different stages of history of film, let's say. So I was wondering, throughout your career, what are the major shifts you noticed that somehow affected your perception of being a film critic or a cultural mediator, or we can find for each one of us a definition, if we like. Because personally, for instance, I've been doing this since 2017. And some of the major shifts I noticed are that my coverage has become more techie, heavily more techie. So now I write a lot about AI and other market trends, more than I used to do at the start. Of course, there were some nebulous phenomenon that kind of disappeared into thin air, like the NFTs. Do you remember them? Yeah. Something like that. But I mean, I was covering those as well. And generally speaking, it's not such a long time I've been doing this, but I noticed that there is more pressure. And when it comes to pressure, I'm talking about the publicists mostly, or the film teams being worried about bad press or a negative review, something like that. And it's kind of a paradox if you think about it, because we keep on talking about film criticism, and lots of debates end up saying, oh, film criticism is dead, the press is in crisis, whatever. But then what do you care so much about bad press? So there must be something in there we could talk through. And maybe, indeed, I would pose the question first to Sudhir. What is the major shift you noticed since you started?
At least, I mean, even with response, even when I speak about films, I try largely to speak from a place deep within. I try to personalize it as much. I don't believe that I'm communicating the truth on some level.
No, of course.
It's my individual truth, and if it resonates, it
Purely
resonates.
subjective forever and ever.
Right. So in that sense, maybe I can answer your question also from a very personal space. I think it began with a lot of writing, spending many, many hours into it, and seeing that get validated as well, because I think when I began, it definitely was a place where more people were reading, and it meant something. And I think over time, the most obvious shift that's happened is that I think less and less people seem to be reading. And a lot of people seem to be watching. Otherwise, I did not ever think I would be making or speaking about films in the visual medium. I always thought of myself as one of those people, you know, just holed up in a room and writing about films. But turns out that it's not the case anymore. At one point, you had to put out your thoughts in a format that the world was, veering towards. And that is how I started speaking about films on video as well. And it turns out that that wasn't as much, that wasn't as uncomfortable as I originally thought it might have been. But what gives me great joy is the fact that I think by and large, my responses towards films have not necessarily changed. Even if the structure seems to have changed a bit. I continue speaking about them from a place of great vulnerability. I continue digging into the emotional layers of films as I was even when I was writing. I continue not to keep these videos in small duration. And I'm like, yeah, if I was writing 1,500 words earlier about a film, now I'm making 10, 15-minute videos, not necessarily doing the 2, 3-minute videos, because I feel like I don't get the satisfaction of expressing myself. So overall, I think this has been the most dramatic change from the print medium to the visual medium. But I think the soul of cinema, as it is with the soul of people who respond to cinema, I think, thankfully, it continues to be the same.
Great to hear that. And what about you, Baradwaj?
So the larger change that happened when, like I said, we stepped into the picture, and these are not things that you control, because earlier film criticism was something that happened beyond a certain. There were a few critics. They were employed by a few newspapers. They were, and it meant that there were a few voices that were heard. So, like we went to certain newspapers. There were television shows with critics on them, and those were the few voices. But when we started, like all of us, it was like everybody had a blog. So everybody was watching movies. Everybody became writers about film, and later, so the thing is, the participatory nature of that started when in the early 2000s when I began. So it was, two things happened. One is many people started writing, and there was also an instant feedback mechanism. Many people started responding as well. So, and that has obviously evolved into what we now know as a social media culture, where people are writing out smaller bits on social media, and the feedback is also there on social media. But that's the major change that for me existed, because earlier there were like 10 critics, like now there are thousands and thousands of them. And whether you want to call them critics or not, that's a labeling term. But let's talk about people who talk about movies, so people who listen to. And I found that many, many times I've seen little bursts of information on Twitter, though I don't go there that much, but little bursts, somebody can give a very deep insight into a film with just one observation or something like that. And that I find it's very interesting. So there's no longer gatekeepers to, anybody can go out there, and okay, the flip side is that there's a lot of negativity, but I find that this participatory nature of the thing, as opposed to one person sitting and talking all the time, I think that's the major change that I have.
So overall, this democratization, let's call it this way, is very positive. All right, all right. What's your take, Elizabeth?
Excuse me. I would absolutely agree about the democracy. No problems with that. I'm fine with it. I guess I'm a little bit of a snob in the sense that I'll go with that up to a point. One comment that's, oh wow, that's really smart, and I never thought. Great, bring it. I love those. But it's kind of like, remember the days when was it iMusic or Apple Music or GarageBand, and you could start sampling your own records, and I'm going to make my, okay, just because you can sample this music and make a song doesn't mean you should. You're not very good at this. And it's the same with filmmaking, it's the same with commenting, and it's the same with politics, it's the same with medicine. It's, some of us are good at it and some of us are not. Some of us are driven to do it, some are not. Find your space, find your lane. That's no big deal. I would agree with that. For me, the biggest change is I don't have a job. I don't have a single job. I write for several different outlets. So I find that the demand, social media has done this as well to a degree. There's so much information out there about the industry now that the average person seems to pay attention to for whatever reason. Not that that's right or wrong, but when I was much younger, I don't remember people talking about, the first week, the long weekend grosses for blah, 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 blah. Nobody talked about this. It was you liked it or you didn't, and that was it. And you're going to go again or you're not, and that was the end of it. And that was good enough. So I find that for this outlet, I have to write about the film and the art and the directors and where they come from and all that kind of thing. For this outlet, right now I write for Screen, which is a trade. That one wants, is it saleable? What was the director's last success? Were they, where was the funding and all this kind of thing? For this outlet, for my own outlet, it's a different thing altogether. It's much more, it's more like a social media thing where it's like, I'm going to speak like I speak. You're going to read what this sounds like, which is 3 totally different audiences. And I think that's one of the things that has become one of the more prominent trends in writing about cinema. You have to find your outlet, your voice, and the audience, and you have to be nimble enough to change on a dime to meet each of those demands.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's what most of us do to get by, and even multiple jobs are common. Maybe indeed you could be a programmer and a critic on the sidelines, or vice versa. That's the way industry works. Okay, next, Megachandra, what do you think? What is the big change you went through? Probably many.
This time, now, in this digital era, so film criticism has become more democratic with the participation of many influencers in the thread. But the democratization has created an alarming situation, creating sometimes confusion among the audience about the sanctity of the film medium. So, and thus, mass awareness campaign of the importance and the nature of the film medium is also necessary. And now, it is also necessary to provide an ideal platform of these traditional critics so that their critical and academic writings on cinema are abundantly available to the audience. And as a professional critic, we always establish a good relationship between the audience and the filmmakers, because both are the part and parcel of the responsible critic. And from my view, so as I am the member of this International Federation of Film Critic, our objective is to promote and development of this film culture. And when I work in India, we have our own this objective of the Pre-Press Key India. It is to promote and develop the good film culture of national and the various regional cinema of the Indian film industry, and to enlighten the society to bring a healthy national integration through cinema in India. So everyone knows the role of the film critic as it shapes cinema by providing context, interpretation and evaluation of films for audience, influencing both consumer decision and artistic movements. So film critics, scholars, academicians have been the integral part of the cinema since its birth, playing crucial role in shaping and safeguarding the art of cinema at different times.
Thank you. Deepa, what's your take? I mean, is this democratization good or bad? Because, I mean, I also have a twofold opinion, and perhaps we can talk about it later. The thing is, it's good that it's more inclusive, that people can write and open up blogs, magazines, and it's been lasting for the last 25 years or so. But on the other hand, indeed, the debate is about the quality and the overload of information you got. And I think there must be at some point, in my view, a distinction between what is a professional piece of criticism and what is probably something about film, a talk, a speech, an idea, a comment. We can label it in different ways. I mean, if you even go on Instagram, TikTok, it's full of these film influencers. They got 2 minutes, the reel there, and they got this concept there, like the 3 best films you never watched. The 3, normally are Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, and RRRR. So something that everyone has watched, basically. But that said, what kind of added value do these people bring? So are they film critics? I don't think so. Are they influencers? Yes. Who do they influence? What type of target audience? So it's complex. What I mean to say is that there must be a distinction in professional standards, possibly. Of course, we cannot have a quality label or something. The fact that there is a federation of critics, it is, in a way, a form of saying, okay, these are professionals. It's good to be open, like Sudhir does, to all formats. In that sense, I'm 100% happy and open. But I'll just finish with this. Before doing any film criticism that you consider a real one, like a professional piece of film criticism, we need to study history of film first. And it's something very basic and banal to say, but sometimes I teach, I host master classes or something, and I see kids who are very enthusiastic, and that's great. They got time to learn. But sometimes I see older people who maybe write something, and man, this is not so new. This has been done in the 70s by Dario Argento, for instance. You wouldn't have written that this is very innovative if you would have watched Suspiria, let's say. So, yeah, what's your take? Is it good, bad, complex?
I think good, bad, or complex is a different issue altogether. I think what it is doing, this social media influencing, is keeping up with the kind of trend in cinema also. Because we've grown up at a time where films ran for 50 weeks. And there used to be something like a silver jubilee and a golden jubilee and all these things. Today, 3 days, weekend, opening this much, and that's it. The film doesn't survive for more than 3 days. So if a film doesn't survive for more than 3 days, obviously the film reviewing is more fandom than criticism. And to get eyeballs, as they say, the influencer, they are not actually film critics, they're influencers, which is perfectly respectable, or whatever it may be, they have to get these eyeballs, they have to get access to stars. So when they are standing there and saying, oh, look, I'm watching this film and here's the star and, he's congratulating me or something like that, the access to stars gets them fandom. And when that is what you're aiming at, you're obviously not going to be sincere or in-depth or, whatever it is you're talking about a film, because you want, either you're doing that or you're being nasty, because nastiness gets eyeballs as well. So there's no depth or perception to those reviews. They are just, instant, like the cinema now is a 3-day phenomenon.
Yeah, it's good you mentioned this aspect because it's essential. I mean, if there is some kind of promo aspect or like a fanboy-like attitude whenever you were dealing with a film, that's the farthest thing you can do from film criticism. Barbara and I met yesterday, and I was telling her that normally when I speak to students or something, one thing I always tell is that there is one type of critic I really hate, because there are some who do this, Those are the ones who wear the t-shirts of their favorite directors. Why? Because, I mean, you're a referee, technically. You should be super partus. Your taste should be not so easy to understand. You should be unpredictable and nasty. A bit of, it's part of the game. And if you just show up with, I don't know, Lelouch t-shirt, Guadagnino's t-shirt, whatever, you're saying, this is the football team I support, and it is a bit of a problem. What do you think, Barbara, generally speaking, about this democratization topic, and indeed the promo slash fanboy aspect we just touched upon?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up what we were talking about yesterday also is that, I mean, what is ultimately the interest for a film critic when you sit in Cannes, for instance, and you have 4,000 film critics writing about 19 competition films? I mean, this is something, when we're talking about shifting and what you said already, this is something I'm not interested anymore in. I mean, doesn't make any sense. Of course, the situation is very different, I think, in India or in Europe, or especially like in Germany. My experience of the shifting over the years for a film journalist or a film critic, I had the chance when I started to write. I was free to write, and what I was passionate about was to share in a mainstream big national newspaper, film experiences, and talk about films that the ordinary reader never had heard of. Just to give you an example, when I came for the first time to India, because we are here sitting in Goa, when I came in 2008, I discovered the regional cinema in India, which was very, very, was not very much known in Europe or in Germany in any case. So I started to write about the regional cinema in India in a mainstream newspaper, or about the new wave of Turkish cinema in Turkey. This was addressing an audience that was not used to hear about these films and couldn't even see them. So my interest was sharing the experience and the chance I had to go to these places and to share what I've seen there, and to raise a curiosity in the reader. Now, over the years, the situation of the print press in my countries I was writing for was becoming more and more difficult. I mean, the possibility to write this kind of cultural reports, talking about these subjects, was shrinking more and more, so I was asked to write more about films that came out, like when I write for a Swiss newspaper, write about the films that come out in Zurich. Okay. I was not very much interested in that. So I shifted from this broader aspect to writing about films, but this was, what shall I say, it was like limiting, So the only possibility afterwards is to switch to online publications. But then online publications, the same thing that you said about the democratization, they are flowering, they are blossoming. You have 150,000 online publications, and I'm asking myself, who is reading that? I mean, who is reading? Everybody. Everybody can make these online things, and there is no editorial control and editorial.
Not to mention whether these publications are sustainable.
Exactly.
That's another thing.
So to come back to your question, I think the major shift is this: the losing mainstream or print press, large print press for film reporting, and the switch to social media and to online magazines.
Well,
can I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
I think now there's this a different phenomenon also, where there are people who are being paid just to give stars. They're not even writing reviews.
Yeah.
So they're just, giving 4 stars and whatever stars. And they say, but where's your review? Oh, but, this is my review.
Yeah.
I've given the film stars,
Yeah.
So it's come down to that,
I'm kind of with you on the KOL influencer thing. I don't know about India, and I don't know about any place else, but in Hong Kong, me and a few other film writers that we hang out together, see all these screenings together. We go to these screenings sometimes. We get the crappy seats in the 9:45 show instead of the early 7:30 show, so we can bang out a review, something that night. And we find out from the distributors, oh yeah, there was a 7 o'clock show. Well, why didn't you tell me about it? Oh, it was for KOLs, which are influencers in Hong Kong. And this is a double-edged sword, because you want the KOLs to tell people about these movies. Great. I write things to make sure you all see this movie. Oh, please give it a chance. So you want the KOLs there because that's what they do. They have hundreds of thousands of followers and all this kind of thing. But KOLs get hired by the biggest film distributors in Hong Kong, for sure. They're the ones with the money to pay these KOLs because they are paying them. So this little guy doesn't have that kind of marketing budget. His film goes by the wayside. This guy has Warner Brothers on his side, or whoever owns Warner today. Does anybody know? They've got them on their side, so they can afford to push this movie. And of course, they push Jurassic Park and
Barbie.
Thank you. They push these. You know what? Barbie doesn't need my help. Barbie doesn't need your help.
No, indeed.
So can we share the wealth kind of thing? And this is where the social media KOL thing is a little bit of a thorn in my side right now because of that. And as these companies, as these film companies, this is another big change in the industry recently, everywhere. As these film companies get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, I guarantee you, whatever you do today, Disney's going to get some of your money somehow.
Yes.
Disney's going to get your money. And as these companies get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, there's fewer and fewer spaces for the little guys, and more emphasis on the KOL and less emphasis on the thoughtful 1,500-word, 15-minute, exploration of a film. And that's where the quagmire is right now.
We're dropping lots of bombs, but it's good. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah, and the same thing is, if you check into, we talk about film critics as professionals. Professionals mean that you can live on your film criticism.
Yep.
Now, we had done some research recently, and we found out, for instance, in France, that 80% of the people who write on cinema, they don't live on their film criticism. They are jobs in university, teachers, and so on, and they do that in papers and online, which is not paid for free. So, that's also a big issue. It's normal that people then have to get other jobs and shift now more and more easily into the domain which is paid, like branding and selling films. Switching the hat. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to expand on what Deepa said a bit, because earlier films, like say Pauline Kael's review of The Godfather is, for me, one of the definitive reviews ever.
Yes.
It's like 10,000, 20,000 words long, whatever, right? Because they gave her the space. But what I'm trying to say is that films were different then. They existed in public consciousness for a longer time. A film would come out, and people would be talking about it the first month, the second month, the third month. It would go on. Now films come out, and not only are there numerous films coming out, they appear and they disappear because the theaters have to make space for the next batch of numerous films. Yeah. And also, the existing films don't seem to, very few of them make the impact that they last that long. So the pressure on these influencers, or even maybe critics, or whoever it is how do you catch the few films and review the ones that you know are going to be seen and remembered by the public for the very short period of time that it's out there? What is the film of the moment? How do you make sure that you are reviewing the film that everybody is talking about? That I see has become a bigger concern, which is not there even 10 years ago, because people then were like, I saw this film, I liked it, I'm going to write about it. Now there's a bit of a gaming thing going on. There's a bit of a calculation. Okay, I'm not going to see this little film because not many people are going to watch that review. But if I do this film, which is currently in circulation, in cultural currency is happening around it, I'm probably going to get more views or more clicks or whatever the thing is. And I feel that gaming aspect where people are trying to read the public pulse and give out, that's happening a lot now, which wasn't there even 10 years ago, is my
yeah,
thing.
if you say get views, that means it is on a digital media.
Yeah.
It is on Instagram or elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because if you publish something on a print paper, you don't get the views.
Yeah.
So this is also the interest is shifting there, because you as a film critic or as a film, you get more attention. And there is also another shift which is operating right now since quite a while, that the film critic himself becomes his own product in a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
But let's speak about me.
I mean, just to laugh a little bit about. I mean, you find more and more colleagues when they go to a festival, they publish their accreditation card. I mean, what does that mean? They publish, put themselves in show with a famous director and so on. You try to find what they write about the film. There's nothing about the film, but they have been next close to somebody we talk about. So there is also this shift of the role of the person to put himself in scene, which has not been before, because as a writer, you sit at home. You write in your office, you are not seen, you are not known, you are a name.
It's a great point, yeah.
But here,
Huge
now
one.
you become visible. And this visibility for the younger generation becomes primary sometimes on top of the content. So it's more about yourself and what you tell than the content itself. I mean, the film, the subject you're talking about.
You're totally right, and honestly, I'm one of the people who also take a picture of the accreditation card, just to signal that I'm there and doing stuff. But that's the way we were raised. I mean, I'm 34, so I'm not that old, and but I understand the point you're saying. At some point, if the picture with the star becomes more important than the content you're publishing, it becomes so central, it's something else. So all this, what we're all saying is that everything is becoming, okay, more democratic, but more fragmented, but also more liquid and confused. So it's quite a mess. Not to mention the fact that Baradwaj, we were talking about the overload of films and publications and everything, and we're not even 100% aware of what the overload will be with the AI films or content, because it's already there. Even the feed of Instagram, it's full of crappy AI animations or tales that make no sense, literally. Of course, the tech is going to develop, it's going to get better and something, but there's going to be more content. And so what is our role there is crucial, but also technically we should become more important, because people will need guides. Because, we all suffer from the Friday night syndrome of being on Netflix and picking something decent to watch. But can you imagine what's going to be like in 10 years? Maybe the catalog is going to be 10 times bigger. Probably not exaggerating because of the AI thing or the hybrid films we're going to get. If things get cheaper, easier, more accessible, great. But on the other hand, it's a slippery slope. So that's one thing, and I agree about the promo aspect of this job. It's becoming, overwhelming, and that's why my next question is actually connected to all these topics. Like, I believe, but feel free to disagree, I want to hear your opinions, that we still have a good influence on, indeed, first-time filmmakers, sidebars, and probably we should work harder and harder to showcase that talent, because that's going to be the talent of the future. If we're going to praise Sorrentino or any other master for the 8th time, the 10th time, the 100th time, that's not going to change. And again, Barbie doesn't need us. The big commercial flicks don't need us. Art house films need us. So, what's your take? Sudhir, were you about to say something before? Or?
No, I think we've moved on.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
I have a take on that. Now, I think that's just not the critics. Even if you look at film festivals, if you've been traveling to at least the 3 big ones, Cannes, Venice, and Berlin, there was a time when the slate contained enough variety of big filmmakers and the
newcomers, you mean?
Yeah. So you'd have, but now when you look at, it's almost like the entire, all the films competing for the Palme d'Or or whatever, they're all by big filmmakers. You find very few, like I'm thinking of this because you said like we championed the first-time filmmaker or whatever.
Exactly.
Very few of them, because the thing is, everybody is excited to know what's the new Sorrentino, what's the new, the big filmmakers are making, right? I mean, big in the art house circuit or whatever. And that, I think, trickles down to the thing, because I doubt today if with all this, I'd be very interested in knowing the thoughts of other people as to how in this crowded marketplace of films, do you champion a smaller film in a way that makes people want to go and seek that film? Because, it takes a long time in India at least, for a film to travel from the festival circuit to the market, if at all it appears. And India is not a very art house friendly market. So that's a real,
And you got huge domestic production too that overloads.
Yeah, it's a huge
cinema,
domestic production.
obviously.
And another thing that's changed here is that earlier, the different states of India used to largely play their own films, Hindi films and English films. Now, films from all over are being subtitled, and at least the major cities get all of them. So per week, there's about 10 to 12 releases, maybe even more. I don't know. It's like, so we get with so many releases, and of that, it's humanly impossible to review every single one. Because So yes, there are people who kind of send you links and say, please watch, I hope you like it or whatever.
Yeah, but I got 24 hours in my life.
But that's when, and they do it. And we have a system here where even if they do preview shows, they do it like a day in advance or 2 days in advance. So it's really, it doesn't give you much time to kind of...
Or on the day of the release.
On the day of the release.
Yeah.
So there's really not much time to gather your thoughts, put out something, because again, putting out a review on the very day of release, when I started, the film would release on a Friday and the review would go out in the Sunday edition of the newspaper. Now, the reviews have to go out that very day. That's how it is. It's not, you don't have the luxury of like a day of writing or thinking about the film or whatever. So.
Yeah, for us, from the trades, we need to write right away, basically.
Yeah.
And then you got not huge room to, even the word count. Cineuropa is normally 500, 650 words or so it must be very short and sharp. Screen maybe slightly longer.
We get a whopping 700 words.
Oh, amazing.
Woo!
So,
Get out of my way. The speed and the volume of stuff is a little bit crazy. And what's our job with all this, with so much stuff coming out now? You know what? I think that is something that each critic, each writer has to figure out what they're doing individually. I have 3 distinct jobs with 3 distinct job profiles. And I just have to kind of stick to that and hope that when you were saying, the brand, the critic is the brand, and that's, and you got to be part of the part. You know what? I kind of have to. For an outlet I write for in Hong Kong, I have to have a specific style and voice to separate me from everybody else. There's not that much English language writing in Hong Kong right now, so I have an opportunity to kind of go, oh, she's the one who swears on the website, and she's the one who makes the jokes about, she uses DGAF on the website. Oh, Richard, she's a normal, that kind of thing. So there's that. But you just have to kind of roll the dice and hope that you find the right spot for it. About the people, you said something about the people who don't need her help. How do you find these little guys? Yeah, That's the place where I think it is my job. Yeah, who do need us. Yeah, who do need us. I think it is our job to kind of stump for those hard to find people. That up there says gatekeeper, a word that I dislike intensely. I don't think of it as gatekeeping because it is not my job to. Coming from a place where I was, I'm the minority in the, I'm a woman of color, so to speak. To say something like gatekeepers. I think of gatekeepers as editors is a good idea, is a good example in publishing. You've got the editor at Macmillan or Random House or something, and they're like, oh, I think we'll send this one to publishing. And it's an old white man. Sorry if there's anybody out there.
I'm not old. I'm white.
Middle-aged white man. And it's, someone like that who, these are the people who've had their thumb on, the go button for too long. And that's a gatekeeper to me. And I don't like the idea of being a gatekeeper. I do like the idea of being an advocate, but more than anything else. And I'm happy to tell you why I'm advocating for this rinky-dink little film that, I agree with Deepa. She said, even if it's a bad film, we love them. Yeah. And I'll advocate for that rinky-dink. The sound's not so good. The color correction is a little off, but it's creative and they've got something to say. That's worth talking about. And if I have to shout it into a void, fine. Someone will listen to me somewhere one day, I hope.
At this point, I want to share some empathy and support to individuals who try to make brands of themselves. I don't think it is the bad thing that we're almost suggesting that it is. Mainly because earlier you had a few organizations controlling these individuals, and of course these individuals could be anonymous and do their work in secrecy, pretty much. But let's not lose sight of the fact that the bigger brands, the organizations, were still making products of themselves. So you essentially were representing a larger umbrella, a larger organization there. But now, with democratization, I think you have all these little brands mushrooming. And you know what? I rather like the idea that there might be 1,000 brands out there than 4 or 5 that control the narrative, and there is no necessarily standing for the neutrality or the ethics of the said organizations anyway.
Okay.
I think as long as you have powerful businesses, you're always going to have powerful businesses influence opinions, and I think this has always been the case. I really do not see that now is somehow a way more immoral or unethical time than it was earlier.
Of course, we're not cavemen.
100% agree with that. Are you going to shop at Whole Foods or the little mom and pop fruit and vegetable market on the corner?
And also, even
just a second, Deepa wanted to speak first, then we can.
No, I think what is happening is with the influencers is that they're creating, like I said, a kind of a fandom which is different from cinephilia. It's a totally different thing. So to give 2 recent examples of Hindi cinema, one is Homebound and one is Dhadak. Across the board, 4-star reviews. Across the board, everywhere. Those films did not do well because the kind of people who are going to go and see those films, they say, entertaining, it's not entertaining, right? It's boring, right? Then we'll watch it on OTT.
No, so you have a lot of that happening in Tamil cinema as well, right? You invariably know a bunch of people who are going to be championing these films instantly right after release, and it's a bit sponsored on some level. But I'm saying if there are enough diverse voices out there, and I'm probably a romantic at heart here, I am trusting the world to know the difference between this group and another group. And are there numbers to back this? I'm not really sure if I can communicate it with any tangible proof of it. But you know what? I do feel it. I can sense that there is a difference between, say, a Baradwaj Rangan and someone else who's sponsored for their opinion with 4 stars, slapped on films, that when people consume those films, they can immediately, instantly tell this movie was not deserving of such organized praise.
No, but I'm saying that the films which are genuinely good and genuinely deserving of those stars by what we would call respectable or professional critics, for want of a better word, even those films do not do well because the taste for cinema has been corroded somehow by this whole fandom phenomenon.
I think there's 2 things here, what you're saying. One is the critic doing their job? And the second is whether they are influencing people to go to the theaters and watch the movie. I think there's two slightly different things.
They may be influencing people to watch those movies, but then people are not going out to the movies, to the cinema to watch them.
Generally.
They say that, oh, a good film, okay, we'll watch it at home on OTT.
But I think when you put out when you put out a review, for example, I think it lasts long enough that people sometimes make a note and say, okay, so-and-so said that this is a decent movie, so maybe I'll catch it on OTT, or maybe whenever it comes later, or something like that. I think that, yeah, the theatre, I don't know if I can answer, or anybody can answer whether like a review drives people to theatre.
Yeah, just a question. Do you really think that you, as a film critic, you influence people to go to the cinema and see a film? Do you really think there is a correlation between the film critic, I mean, in the traditional way, and the people who go to the movie afterwards? I don't think so. I mean, there are some statistics about it. These are two different worlds.
I think my work is far more liberated once it's shorn off this egotistical notion of being the influencer and driving people to theaters, and I'm communicating ideas about films.
I'm not talking about influencers. I'm talking about film critics in cinephile film critics writing in serious film magazines and film and papers.
I think this ties into brand as well. So like you said, the one person, the thousand little voices. I'm one of those thousand little voices. I don't work for one of the big papers, the big paper in Hong Kong. So I'm free to say whatever I like. And does what I say have any impact on anybody who reads my comments? Possibly not. But the point of my brand, of writing the way you hear me now, is that the people who do read what I write go, oh, I know her style, or I know her tastes. I don't like to use I in a review as much as...
No, never use I.
I think
one
of the real shifts is there. The real shift is
I use it a lot now because that's part of the brand. Okay. So I've made it very clear on my site that I hate rom-coms. Sorry, I hate them. The Passion of a Thousand Fiery Suns, I hate them. But I can't say that a rom-com is good or bad, or it's not worth it, or it's terrible, because I don't like that kind of film. I have to look at the film for what it is.
Yes.
And
that's
I will
correct.
always say in my reviews, okay, you know what? I know it's expensive, but you gotta see this one in IMAX. Or, oh my God, you've gotta see this one on a screen because of the cinematography or the sound, or something like this. I'll say it and stump for it and hope that somebody goes, okay, I trust her judgment because of other things this brand has said. That's the best I can do, and that's the most I can hope for.
Actually, still on the branding note, I quite agree with what you said, but I think we all should keep a focus on balance, indeed. If your personality becomes more important than the film you're showcasing, you're talking about, that's a bit of a problem, because I'll remember that guy just because he's a bit weird, sometimes he uses words out of place, and is very flamboyant, or something like that. So, indeed, what you're talking about is style and touch and personality, which is good and must be there, otherwise it would be very plain writing.
Yeah, I think of it as voice.
Voice,
I don't want to
voice.
overwhelm the content. I want people to be aware of what I'm like and probably where I'm going to come down. So if I have to grade something and say it's a C, oh well, Liz gave it a C. That means I'm going to think it's an A.
Yeah, it's, again, about striking the right balance. But that applies to everything, and I keep on saying quality first. The more I think about this, and the more we keep on talking, because there's nothing wrong in principle and nothing right in principle, but it depends on what you deliver. That's why, indeed, we shouldn't even be talking about the format. Criticism, good one, can be anywhere on any type of platform. But the brain makes the difference, as usual. Megachandra, what's your take on this branding thing? I'm curious to hear your opinion, especially because, indeed, you're, I guess, one of the more veterans among us.
Now, I would like to talk about this Indian films. So, in India, there are more than 2,000 feature films. It is produced in a year in 50 languages, more than 50 languages.
2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 feature film. It is one of the largest film producing country in the world. And some of the films, we have not seen it. There are so many films, but the critics often receive limited access to the independent and these festival films. So this is the problem, and the mainstream releases overshadow others, then affecting the development of this holistic film culture. And so some of these, recently, a collective of these independent filmmakers, they are demanding for the free access of their films in the theater also. So this is our problem in India. So we need all these films to reach to the audience. So the critics' role is very great in this situation. And the policymakers, they have also formulated a policy how to reach all these films to the masses. And now the government of India, they are taking as some initiatives for the development of this film industries. So we have to go with the government to find out what will be this solution. That's why the government also, they should consider, they should talk, they can organize, they may organize the conclave with the film journalists and the critics, how to go about this, the situation, the growing. So government has defined the film industry as the creative economy. So they have some ambitious plan. So we need to think of how to go about our government initiative for a better reason. This is what I feel. And we, the Pre-Press Key India, we are doing so many workshops, seminars, and film appreciation courses around this country, when we have also approached the government of India to support this situation, so that everyone should know about this, what is the film and the importance of this film, so that this will reduce some of the influencers they are doing. So I think it will reduce the so everyone now is everyone is the film critics. So they should learn about what is the film and this appreciation. So we are planning this. Pre-Press India is doing so many workshops around the country. This is what we are doing.
You know, I'm really regretting not coming as prepared as he has.
It's got a lot of work done.
No, this is collectively we are doing it. Individually we can't do it. Individually we can't do it.
I just have one point about brands.
Sure.
We were talking about, you were working in 3 publications, and you said you worked in a number of publications. In India, at least, I don't know how it is. My employability depends on the brand that I have created over the years. And I don't mean this in a conscious way, like I'm building an empire or something like that. But the way you write, the voice, everything adds to a certain, maybe people following you or whatever it is. Now, that makes it's like a television anchor. Some people are sought after by many, many channels simply because, for whatever reason, maybe they're presentable, they read the news in a certain way, they're popular, whatever. And I think that need not necessarily be a bad thing if your voice is consistent and you don't stop doing the things that you set out to do as a critic. If the brand develops as a sidebar thing, I don't think that's such a big problem.
No, indeed. If you remain true to yourself and your voice, and this doesn't radically change your work, your writing style, your expression, let's say, I agree, it's not negative at all.
And it creates circulation for you, doesn't it? I mean, it creates an audience for you. Big organizations don't need it. They have ways of creating that for themselves. But how else are individuals supposed to do it without necessarily amplifying their voice or creating an identity for themselves?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel the generational shift in film criticism in India? Because I think this is also a very, very important issue, which creates divide and which makes things, are changing. The newer generation of film critics, would you feel close to them, or would you, do you feel that there is another way of talking in a new language that is used also, which is used from other contents?
I don't think, when you look at the people who like review films, I don't think there's been much of a change, because most people look for the same thing, which is like whether this film is doing what it set out to do. But when you look at the people putting out content for the younger generation, the Gen Zs or whatever you want to call them, I do find that there is a bit of sensationalism in terms of, if it's a like, you know, we're talking video, the thumbnail is very like the best movie ever or something like that. You know, it's like or like, you know, have you watched this? You know, or like WTF.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So everything is
Jesus Christ.
You know, the hysteria about a movie. It's like I feel that, you know, when you put out, I get bashed a lot more for putting out a review than I did about 10 years ago, because everybody wants to see the review that they have in their heads, rather than trying to engage with somebody who may have a different point of view. And I've seen that, whether you want to call it tolerance or whatever it is, that has gone down. People seem to be more argumentative. They want you to say if they like a movie, or if the culture has decided that this movie is a classic, then, and if you say, well, it didn't work for me, they're like, oh, what do you know? Go back to you, Tamil cinema, you know, something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know,
yeah, I mean, this curiosity or this curiosity to think out of the box.
Yeah.
I think that is losing.
That is there. I mean, I think that is there among the people who write or do videos or whatever. I don't think that has changed, the big critic. But I think there is a general tendency for others who, like, you must have seen a lot of them. You must have seen a lot of them. They to sensationalize the product that is going out, and to kind of make those catchy. I think it started happening when, you know, I've always blamed Roger Ebert for this.
What come again?
I've always blamed Roger Ebert for this.
Ah, okay.
Because,
Roger
you know,
Ebert. Why?
before, there's the pre-Ebert phase and there's a post-Ebert phase. The minute Siskel and Ebert appear on television and started giving 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down, whatever it is.
Okay, that's clear.
That became an indication, and the popularity of the program became an indication that you no longer needed to see what they said in the past, or spoke about in the past 10 minutes. You just needed to know at the end, is it this or is it this? And that's the whatever, stars, whatever. You know, so the thing is, that's what matters. So when you might write a long review, but at the end of it, people are like, oh, all that is okay, but is it a good movie or not?
Yeah.
You know,
well, we can tell each other one simple thing: more substance, less show off.
Yeah.
That said, we got 15 minutes left. I would really like to open the Q&A session. So we got so many raised hands. That's good. We didn't bore you to death, which is a good sign. Let's start from, well, here are thousands of people. First row. Green t-shirt, please. The green t-shirt, but you're going to be next, no worries.
Hi sir, I'm Gaurav Narayanan. I'm a film director from Chennai. Hope my colleagues knows me. I have done 3 films. I just have one question. A critic can be an influencer, or an influencer can be a critic. Because you are a critic. What Baradwaj sir said, I just love that one. Because in Tamil we have 10,000 critics. The so-called influencers also, they are calling themselves as critic. So we, the young directors, don't know whom to follow first. So whether we have to follow the influencers, they call themselves as critics, or to a certain extent, the critics now are becoming influencers. So is it right?
Who's going to take this?
Yeah, please.
Wanna go, Marwan?
Bharat sir, or
no,
Sudhir sir.
I mean, I'm starting to really wonder if there is any point to these definitions in the first place. Whether there's real world utility to a label being ascribed to this individual versus that individual, because the work is anyway out there, and you're going to prefer consuming the work of those whose opinions you respect, I suppose. What's the inherent value you see in ascribing the critic label to one individual and the influencer label to another, and how do you even determine if there is...
I don't even know if there's a difference, because there are films that people say, oh, I read your review and I went to the movie. Or there'll be people who say, oh, you said the movie is good, so I know I should not go to the movie. So either way, you're influencing the audience. So maybe you are an influencer. But what I'm trying to say is that your question, which is like, who should I follow? I think you should follow whoever you are in sync with. That is all. You don't have to like me, and you don't have to like them, whatever. But if you like him or me, or whoever you like. See, the point is, you have, see, this is a very subjective profession, right? In a way, there is, or what I'd like to call subjective objectivity. You try to be rational about why you like or dislike a movie, but that again is coming from a lot of personal taste, what you like about cinema, what you don't like, and things like that. So you find the people, find your tribe, find your people that you who speak the way that you look at cinema. And I think that's all there is to it. And now it's become easier because there's so many of them. Earlier maybe there were fewer of them. Now there's so many of them. So find the people that you think are speaking your language and your speaking in a voice, and seeing how cinema the way you see cinema. I think that's all there is to it.
And if I had to give you a recommendation, maybe slightly push you to a certain zone, I would say find those who incite thought in you and don't stifle thought in you. Because increasingly it feels like people are motivated to just take one person's words and not really put any thought into it themselves and immediately begin championing the other person's worldview. But I'm saying I think it's very crucial now more than ever to constantly wonder, even if you respect someone, even if you respect Baradwaj Rangan, me, anyone else here, I'm saying the moment you consume it, ask yourself whether you agree with what you've just read, even if you respect those people. And I think that's more crucial than anything. Respect or disrespect, ask yourself what you think about this, whether it matches up or, as long as you're having a dialogue with work that you consume, then I think it helps in your evolution as well.
Yep, let's go with the next question, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Prerna, I'm an actor. This is to Mr. Rangan's point about how indie filmmakers can reach out. I think I'm from Maharashtra, so I could give an anecdote from there. There's a recent example of this film called Sabar Bonda, Cactus Pears, which was highly loved and appreciated at the film festivals. But I think it did pretty well in the theaters also. And I think the most important reason for that is that some voices with weight, some people supported that film. Like I think Jim Sarb was one of the backers. Sai Tamankar, an actor from Maharashtra, backed that film. I don't know if they did it financially or just they've used their voice for that. But I think that really helps. Aditya Kriplani is one of the independent filmmakers who made Lakshmi Tikli Bomb, and now one of his films is playing, I think. He also puts out a lot of content like that, and where he asks people, requests people that if you've been waiting for independent cinema like this, and if you don't go watch these kind of films in the theaters, they won't run for long, and then you'll stifle them, you'll close them down. So I think people with voices have to back each other, especially for these little films, these independent filmmakers. Like for example, even the Fraternity, I have at 12:45 actually, and that's why I was jumping to just make this point. I have a friend's film, a little film that's playing at IFFI, but I want to go and support her and go watch her, cheer for her, tell everybody, go watch this film. So I think people from the Fraternity and people with voices can definitely support these independent filmmakers. That's all I wanted to say because I know from the Marathi film industry.
Okay, thank you for
That's
sharing
no
your
question. That's
contribution.
Yeah.
You would just ask the next speakers just to ask questions to the audience. The guy was waiting there, sorry, it's his turn.
Hi, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank IFFI for organizing this session in a way that we have critics from different parts of the world, which I could see it together. And thank you for the wonderful moderation, David. And my question is specifically to Elizabeth. because I see you are an individual who is working as a critic from your country. As you said, you're not representing any brand or something like that. So that's what I'm doing primarily. Like, I'm an engineer by qualification. Later, I thought I need to go see cinema, review cinema. So I have my own brand called Speak with Sushan, where I review the films. So I just want to know from your perspective that when it comes to film reviewing as an individual, how critical do you feel in your individual countries where you are right on point and you say that the cinema is not good? No, it's not good. There are cinemas where at the initial 2-3 days, just to make sure that, okay, my cinema is good, they're going to fill the theaters with people, like literally paying for a head. They fill the theaters, and this culture is more in India, which I have keenly observed. And after 2-3 days, seeing that, oh, this cinema theater is houseful, some people keep some time for that, go there, and that's a bullshit over there. So when that happens, it's very disheartening for a viewer also to actually see the difference between which is a good cinema or which cinema is not going to make any value change for me. Because what I believe is that when you go to a cinema, either it should give you entertainment or it should be a life-changing experience to you.
Ideally.
I think, yeah, these are the two things which should happen for any cinema for that matter, is what I believe. But if both of this doesn't happen, I believe that's not a great cinema, right? So I just want your opinion about that, like being a direct reviewer or something you put out of the heart. I have also faced this where you're a direct reviewer, put things on heart. Next cinema, there is a celebrity premiere or something. You're not called for that because you are very direct, you are very transparent. So how do you want to change this trend? I want all the people to answer. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay. Well, again, Deepa said, even a bad film, we love them. It is, and I've done this, like I said earlier, 25 below zero on the street. It is very, very hard to make a bad movie, never mind a good one. So if you've got a movie in a cinema and it's screening, kudos to you. You've gotten this far. That's farther than so many people ever get. Transparency.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Transparency in reviewing comes down to honesty in your thoughts, your beliefs, and where you're coming from. We said earlier that I've taken to saying I in reviews, not for screen, but for my own, mostly because it's important to, right now, especially with the way content's changing, filmmakers changing, what people want to see and what they expect from their films, from their entertainment is changing. It's important for me to kind of come with all my cards on the table and say, okay, look, I'm watching this movie about two elderly gay men in Hong Kong who have found love late in life. I am not a man. I am not gay. I am not from Hong Kong. Who am I to talk about this movie? The whole point of cinema, and I think that's the reason we're all all of us, I'm going to speak for everybody and say we're all obsessed with it, is because it has this, a good film has this ability to kind of cut across all that stuff. I don't need to be an elderly gay man in Hong Kong to understand that story if the filmmaker's done his job and made something that's empathetic, that's understandable. I don't have to be them. I don't have to be these two old dudes. I just have to get the story. And there's universality in specificity. It's the same with, I watched a film here last night about an old dude, it was so-so, an old dude in a little Indian village and his angry daughter, and I'm not an old dude in a little Indian forest village. I'm not a woman in Bengaluru with I don't need to be those people to get that story if the filmmaker does his job. So transparency comes from just saying, you know, this is where I'm coming from. And from where I'm sitting, this is not making an awful lot of sense. And you don't have to slam a film, or not slamming a film all the way through, even if you don't think it's very good, isn't a cop-out, I don't think. Even bad films have something in them that's worth that's worth paying attention to.
Some are memorable.
Something,
in this sense.
something in there is worth talking
We can
about.
take one more
and that's how you
question.
do it.
You got the microphone already. Okay.
Hello, sir. I'm a fan of Pauline Kael, and I've seen about 15,000 movies. Now I am a very viral film critic in Tamil Nadu. I am more viral than Sudhir and Baradwaj Rangan. Yeah? And my reviews are watched by 89 lakhs people. I go in front of theater like a street singer. First day, first show, I watch a talk, and 40 times it went 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs. I've seen 15,000 movies, all the best films in the world. I've read all the best literature. I worked with 1,000 Germans. I speak something very different and very bold. I have 1,000 threatening calls, but I got 25 million fans. You know? So, many times there's a film called Narasimha, which was only in one theater. It's an extraordinary animation film, first time in India, Kannada film. It was only in one theater. I spoke in theater saying that's a great film. Next day they changed in one theater mall for 5 shows. So all these influencers are all paid. For example, Kamal's film Thug Life, 100 people invited in Mahabalipuram. Everybody was paid 1 lakh. Yeah, that the film didn't run. I said that film won't run first day. I said first day, first show. The film didn't run. So I'm very bold, you know. I don't get money, but a lot of people offer me money until 50,000 for big films like Rajinikanth, Kamala Hassan. I say I don't want your money, I want my fans, you know. So even these elite people are doing a lot of...
sorry to interrupt, sir. It's interesting, but what is the question for one of the speakers there?
No, I'm telling all elite people are doing beating the bush. There's no very good film critic in India and Tamil Nadu.
Thank you so much. Bharadwaj sir, I really respect you a lot. And as you said, I've found my tribe with you. I try to watch the review after I've seen the film. And as you said, I try to question whether what's alike, what's missing. My question is, what is the role of a critic really? Because I see a lot of people talking about the morality of the film or the level of violence in the film and ignoring all other departments of the film, just like focusing on one thing and just, I would say, rubbishing that film. And then it in turn influences a lot of people to not appreciate maybe the editing, the cinematography, because as you said, there's something good in every film. And it breaks my heart when that happens to some films.
I think the only role that I see myself playing, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it is to enter the world of that particular film and talk about what the morality of that particular film is. My role is not to say whether that film should exist in society, whether the violence is excessive, whether people are going to be influenced and all that. This is how I see it. Because I think that is the role of somebody who is not a film reviewer. That is the role of somebody who writes a column on gender in cinema or violence in cinema or something like that, for sure. Because there is an undeniable cause and effect happening here, right? But that is not my role. That is, as a film critic, as a film reviewer, my job is to see this film sets out to do this thing. Now, for example, if you take Kill Bill and say that this movie is too violent, for me personally, that is a kind of a moot point because the point of the movie is to be very, very inventive about the different ways in which you can kill 5 people. So, to the extent that that becomes or the recent Sisu movies, right? It's like, that's the point. Now, if you're going to say that's a problem, I respect that. Of course, that is a point of view, but I don't know. I don't think that comes under my purview. That's not my job. My job is to talk about the movie. Maybe I'll add a point saying, okay, I personally kind of found the violence a little bit, whatever it is or whatever it is. But my job is to kind of say, within this, how well are things done? And that's all. And beyond that, it's none of my business, I feel, but I know others feel different ways, so.
Just to give you a short answer from my side, I think there is no objectivity in a film critic. Everybody has, first of all, as critics, we are completely embedded in our culture and embedded in our global history and our personal history, as everybody else who watches a film.
I think it's
so
very
this
good.
plays a role in the way you receive the film. The film is made, I mean, for me, a good film, first of all, is a film that is made by someone who really wants to make this film from here, and that comes from his heart, and he wants to share this film and his desire, and to this desire to tell a story which is close to him. Now, me as a reviewer or as a film critic, in front of this film, I have to receive this message. And it's the same thing. It comes from his desire, from his passion, to my desire and my passion to receive these stories. So this is how I connect with a film. Me personally, this is not maybe the same thing for anybody else. We are all different. So every film can have different opinions. We can react differently to a film. This is the subjectivity speaks, but there's something really which is important, is that there is a sincere desire to communicate something and the sincere desire to understand and to receive this. And then as a second step is that I have the privilege to share what I receive. And if I feel that is something which is really something that moves me, that I find interesting or stimulating or even controversially, and it helps me to understand better something which I didn't know before or which I need to research further, I will share this with a larger audience and say, look, this is something I had the privilege to watch, and please go and see, because this is something which would be interesting maybe for you as well. So I think I
think your first sentence, that we don't have any objectivity, I think if I accept that, then everything is okay.
You know, what I definitely agree with you is I don't think you should be dismissing a film for one aspect of it, one quality of it. I think increasingly we see a lot of that happening. People who have come to stand for, say, for example, feminism, it can vary, right? But because they stand for one quality, I'm increasingly seeing a lot of films being rubbished simply because that one quality was not handled well in that particular film. I think there's great value to criticizing the film from that lens for sure, but not at the expense of refusing to appreciate any other good qualities that may exist in that film. I mean, if we are talking about a broad response to the film, as opposed to the kind of column that you were talking about.
Because I found a better action scene than Old Boy, which was in Marco. For me, the staircase was like, wow, it was way better than that. That's what I felt. But I watched that movie. If I was in that zone, I don't want to see so much violence, I would have missed it. You know?
All right, unfortunately, time is up. So we need to wrap this up. But thank you very much for joining us today. Let's give a round of applause to all of our speakers. And, enjoy the rest of the festival.
And a round of applause to the moderator. Thank you, David.
Thank you to all our speakers for reminding us that through criticism doesn't silence art. It deepens our appreciation of it. Thank you to our wonderful audience for your participation.